After midnight on August 28, 2022, Officer Nathan Winters and Lieutenant Christopher Wing from the Newton Police Department initiated a traffic stop on 19-year-old college football player Taven Galanakis in Newton, Iowa. The reason for the stop was Galanakis was driving with his high-beam headlights on. The ensuing interaction between the officers and Galanakis was recorded on Officer Winters' body camera.
Brights on.
Okay, well that's not legal.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Yeah, I turn when a car comes by, I turn them off. But like,
well, you didn't with me.
You're a while back.
It has to be within 500 feet.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
And you're not supposed to have your brights on in the city limits.
My fault.
You got your license, registration, insurance with you?
Yeah, I got you.
Is this your car?
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you headed?
Back home. Hold on 1 second.
Where are you coming from?
Friend's house.
Okay. Anything to drink over there?
Need one of these right here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good start. That's the registration. Okay. I'll take this first one here.
Alright.
You got your insurance?
Yeah, I got you. Would it be that white card?
Could be. That's one that expired in 21.
I got the email version.
Alright, that'll work. I'm gonna have you hop out with me, okay?
Mr. Galanakis requests to undergo a breathalyzer test, but Officer Winters requests him to exit the vehicle first in order to conduct field sobriety testing. Officer Winters' decision to delay the breathalyzer test when Mr. Galanakis requested one may have appeared unnecessary, but it was likely to ensure accurate results. Police station breathalyzers have safeguards against false positives, but roadside breath tests can be affected by residual mouth alcohol or other contaminants.
What do you mean?
I had nothing to drink.
Okay. Why would your eyes be watery and bloodshot?
You want to blow me real quick?
I don't want to blow you.
Plus, I got contacts. I've had nothing to drink.
Okay. So your movements in the car with you fumbling over the registration kind of say otherwise. And so does the odor of alcohol coming from your person.
Great, let's do a test and
We'll get to the test.
I can't wait. Can I record it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Officer Winters thinks I'm drinking tonight.
To avoid inflated readings, officers are trained to observe drivers for 15 to 20 minutes to confirm they haven't consumed alcohol or alcohol-containing products before conducting a breath test. The 15-minute rule likely influenced Officer Winters' choice to request field sobriety tests first before administering the breathalyzer. Officer Winters conducts a series of field sobriety tests with Mr. Galanakis, some of which have been validated by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, while others have not. Officer Winters initiated the administration of field sobriety tests on Mr. Galanakis, convincing with what is known as the HGN test, one of the 3 standardized field sobriety tests formulated by the NHTSA.
Take them out?
Yes. Yeah, I'm allergic to dogs. My eyes get dried up and watery, so I took them out.
Are you supposed to have them in when you drive?
No.
Okay. I'm going to have you stand with your heels and toes together, with your arms down to your side. I'm going to check your eyes.
Cool.
Okay, what I want you to do is follow my finger with your eyes and your eyes only, and do not move your head, okay? Can you see my finger clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
How many more we got?
This test is about 2 minutes long. Are you comfortable in walking in the shoes you got on?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so I want you to put your left foot on the line. Take your right foot, put it in front of your left foot, with the heel of your right foot touching the toe of your left foot, just like this, okay? So from this position, you're going to take 9 heel-to-toe steps, turn and take 9 heel-to-toe steps back.
Wait, turn back around?
2, 3, just like I did. Count your steps out loud, and once you've started walking, do not stop until you've completed the test, okay? You may begin.
Gotcha.
Following the HGN test, Officer Winters instructed Mr. Galanakis to conduct the 2 other standardized field sobriety tests, the walk and turn test and the one-leg stand test. These tests are recognized as divided attention tests. After the completion of the standardized field sobriety test, Officer Winters requested Mr. Galanakis to perform 2 additional tests. During the walk and turn test, Mr. Galanakis took an excessive number of steps and failed to count his steps allowed.
Look at you got all these clothes on, and I got shorts on and it's raining. And you false accusing me, so of course I'm gonna be a little nervous.
I wear shorts when it's 30 below.
Congratulations.
If you don't have any questions, you may begin.
It's ridiculous.
Okay, you can relax. I got one more test for you.
Give me a little blow.
I will.
Little zeros.
I will here in a minute. A couple more tests here.
Let's blow real quick.
As per NHTSA guidelines, an individual may be classified as over the legal limit if they exhibit 2 or more clues during the walk and turn test. It is worth noting that failing to count out loud is not considered one of the identified clues for this test. Similarly, in the one-leg stand test, not counting out loud is not considered a clue. Officer Winters proceeds to arrest Mr. Galanakis for driving under the influence. When Mr. Galanakis informs him that he registered a 0.0 on the breathalyzer, Officer Winters contends that he might be influenced by a narcotic substance. During the encounter, Officer Winters cited various factors to support his suspicion that Mr. Galanakis was under the influence, such as fumbling with paperwork, smelling like alcohol, slurred speech, bloodshot eyes, and poor performance on field sobriety tests. While these factors might back the probable cause for an arrest, a judge's decision could depend on their evaluation of Officer Winters' credibility and belief in his allegations regarding Mr. Galanakis' appearance and behavior.
Alright, what I want you to do is make a tight seal around this and blow outwards like you're blowing up a balloon, okay?
Cool.
Alright.
You ready?
Yep. Okay, you can relax. So I'm going to read you Miranda, okay? Right now you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you before any question, okay?
Yes, sir.
When's the last time you smoked weed?
I do not remember that.
Tonight?
Oh.
Okay, well I think it's tonight.
I blew zeros, so now you're trying to think I smoke weed. Is he allowed to do that?
Yes, he is.
So I blow zeros and you suspect drugs, man. I blow zeros, so you think I'm on drugs. That's ridiculous. I'm being honest.
You smoked some weed at your friend's house?
No.
You hit a pin?
Nope.
Why is your field sobriety so poor? And why are you so lethargic and slow moving and speaking with a slurred speech? And your eyes are watery and your eyes are bloodshot.
You know why they're watery? Right, because we're in rain right now.
The claim that Officer Winters smelled alcohol from Mr. Galanakis is weakened by his later 0.0 breathalyzer result. It is conceivable that the smell might have come from alcohol-contacted clothing at his friend's house. Based on the body camera footage, there is no apparent evidence of Mr. Galanakis slurring his speech, having bloodshot eyes, or displaying any physical impairment while searching for his registration and insurance documents.
I read him Miranda, PBT 000. I said, when's the last time you smoked weed? And he hesitated for a long period of time and said, I honestly can't remember. He says he'll do an evaluation, but he's kind of a smart. Alright, that's what we'll do then. Okay, but I obviously have enough to charge him with the sobriety, so. I spoke with the drug recognition expert, and he said that he's willing to do a drug influence evaluation on you. We would have to go up to the PD.
Right now?
Yep.
I don't want to do that right now.
You don't want to do it right now? Why not?
Because you have me out in this damn rain.
We would go to the PD where it's
Well, I
dry.
don't want to do that. I don't want to do that now. I want to go home. You wasted my time.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back.
The body camera footage, at the very least, casts doubt on Officer Winters' characterizations, even though he might have had a clearer view in person. After the encounter, Mr. Galanakis was released without any charges being filed. He took to social media to share his experience, posting about it repeatedly. Later, he shared an edited compilation of the body camera footage. On February 9th, Officer Winters and Lieutenant Wing filed counterclaims against Mr. Galanakis, alleging that he made and published written and oral defamatory statements, lodged false complaints, and intentionally caused emotional distress. In response, Mr. Galanakis has filed a motion seeking to dismiss the counterclaims. As of now, both the counterclaims and the original lawsuit remain unsolved and pending. Now let's investigate our next case. On October 9, 2020, a retired firefighter named Joseph Garces was driving his Jeep in Santa Paula, California. He noticed shooting victims, including Samir Salgado, lying face up in a parking lot, surrounded by a pool of liquid water, later identified as blood. Mr. Garces promptly pulled over beside the injured man and, realizing the seriousness of the situation, exited his vehicle to administer CPR. Shortly after, several officers from the Santa Paula Police Department arrived at the scene, and the ensuing interaction was captured on their body cameras.
I was driving by, I saw him. I'm a retired firefighter.
Okay.
I'm not a part of this.
We don't know anything about that. We see a gun in the car. You're not going there. Do you have your ID?
It's in the car.
What's your name?
Joe Garces.
Joe Garces, you gotta relax, okay? We know you're helping us out.
Wait, but you guys aren't listening either. That's part of the problem. Yeah.
As I said, we appreciate your being involved, okay? We're just running.
That's his knife.
Detective Chris Rivera arrives at the scene and instructs Mr. Garces to vacate the crime scene. The other officers guide Mr. Garces outside the perimeter of the area. Officers possess the authority to close a crime scene to the public in general. In this situation, as Mr. Garces was being interviewed as a witness, it might have been more appropriate, following the DOJ's guidelines, to secure and separate him without necessarily removing him from the scene like a bystander. However, due to the broad discretion officers possess in protecting and securing crime scenes, a court would probably determine that Detective Rivera had the authority to remove Mr. Garces from the perimeter.
He's a witness.
What the?
Relax, okay?
Hey,
We appreciate it.
Huh? So I got a crime scene, sir. I'm a detective. Yeah, and I'm here helping him, so step the off. Okay? If you're a good detective, you wouldn't be yelling at me right now. You'd be taking care of your job.
Over here.
You. I can't get the out of here. Get out of my crime scene. Get out of my crime scene. What are you going to do to me? Get out of my crime scene. I'm going to make you next time. Get out of my crime scene.
Come with me, Mr. Garces. Mr. Garces.
That's my...
After Mr. Garces shouts at Detective Rivera from outside the parking lot, the detective departs the crime scene and approaches him. Detective Rivera places his hand on Mr. Garces' shoulder, but Mr. Garces pulls away his arm and uses profanity to demand that the detective refrain from touching him. In response, Officer Rivera swiftly seizes Mr. Garces' right arm, forcefully bending it behind his back and employing a C-clamp hold on the forearm and elbow. The discussion of whether Detective Rivera possessed reasonable suspicion or probable cause to detain or arrest Mr. Garces will be addressed later.
I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt. And I worked with you, 27 years. When do I get my car back then? Hey, tell them. Thank you for teaching me not to be helpful, you fat piece.
You have to step back. Step back. I don't know who you're
Oh, yeah, so now you're going to come over with me, huh? You're doing a really good job right now, aren't you?
I need you to back up.
You need to calm him.
I need you to back up.
Come here.
No,
I
got it. Come here.
No, you need to hands off. Really, the paint compliance, that's what we need to do. Because you don't like being talked.
What's his name?
However, even assuming Detective Rivera had the authority to seize Mr. Garces, any potential offense he could be suspected of committing was nonviolent and not particularly serious. There was no evidence to suggest that Mr. Garces posed a danger to anyone's safety, as the altercation was merely verbal and he did not make any physical threats or display threatening behavior. Mr. Garces didn't display any indication of being a physical threat, was not suspected of committing a serious crime, and did not resist or attempt to evade arrest. As a result, he presents a compelling argument that Detective Rivera's use of force may have violated the department's use of force policy.
Yeah, go be a hypocrite. You want to talk like adults? I'll let you go. You want to talk like
Did you
adults?
start talking to me like an adult?
Do you understand how I need to
Do
do
you
my
see
job?
what you're doing wrong?
If you know how to do this job and you have a badge, then you would understand. Now, do you want to
It's
go
so
for 148 if you have a badge?
It's so
Do you
good
have
of
a badge?
Yes,
Are you
I
retired?
do. Yes.
Do you want to go for 148 for being in a crime scene? Just because sergeants at patrol don't know how to do their job, and you were a
You're
cop
saying
at
your
one time-
sergeant doesn't know how to do his job?
Take him. Turn him around. Where's your badge at?
In my Jeep, like I keep saying, but you won't listen.
We're adding your Jeep.
Hey, you go see it when you look
Do
at
you
the
want
front
your
of the
car?
Jeep.
Do you want me to have to write a search warrant and keep it, or do you want to keep your car? Do you want to get home as soon as possible?
I'm not talking to you anymore.
Okay. Sink him in this car right here.
64. What's your first name? Joe.
Hey, check that out. I stopped to help somebody who's been shot. I'm getting arrested.
Have a seat for a second.
Just so you know, I'm retired because of PTSD.
Got it.
Major anxiety problems.
Got it.
Being in handcuffs doesn't help me. I know you guys got to do it. Keep.
The officer notifies Mr. Garces that he is being detained, even though he's not under formal arrest. Nevertheless, Mr. Garces finds himself in handcuffs, seated in the back of a police vehicle. One could make the argument that Mr. Garces caused a delay in Detective Rivera's investigation of the crime scene. A court might reach the conclusion that Mr. Garces impeded the investigation by engaging in a dispute with Detective Rivera and not promptly leaving the crime scene as requested. Alternatively, the court could find that the officers had reasonable suspicion to believe that Mr. Garces was involved in an alleged offense.
Absolutely. Hey, Cap, can we get some decontamination for a guy in the back of the car here? He was doing CPR, got blood on him. I got the fire captain come over to decontamination. I don't know. I've been standing over here. This is the one that needs decontaminated. Cap, he has blood on him. Yeah, he's actually a witness, but he was doing CPR when we came up.
A court may potentially conclude that Mr. Garza's actions delayed the investigation as he engaged in a verbal disagreement with Detective Rivera and did not immediately leave the crime scene. Alternatively, the court could determine that the officers had reasonable suspicion to suspect that Mr. Garza of the offense. However, considering the strong historical recognition by the courts of the protection of criticizing police under the First Amendment, it appears more likely that the court would rule that Mr. Garza was engaging in protected speech. Moreover, since he ultimately complied with the orders to leave the crime scene within a reasonable time frame, the court might find that he did not violate the obstruction statute. The officers kept Mr. Garza confined in the back of a patrol car for approximately 15 minutes. After this period, Detective Rivera removed the handcuffs and informed Mr. Garza that he was now free to leave. At a point later on, Mr. Garza made a request for emergency medical services, prompting a police officer to call for an ambulance on his behalf. He was then taken to Community Memorial Hospital in Ventura, California, where he received treatment for a dislocated shoulder and torn labrum, both of which required surgical repair. No charges were filed against Mr. Garces. On the other hand, Mr. Salgado, the shooting victim, survived the incident, and authorities apprehended a suspect who was subsequently charged with attempted murder. The charges against the suspect are still pending. Now it's time to watch the final case of today's episode. On May 13, 2022, Corporal J.D. Ellison from the Nicholas County Sheriff's Department conducted a traffic stop in Summersville, West Virginia. The driver, referred to as Mr. Headlights, was pulled over for flashing his headlights to warn oncoming traffic of a speed trap. After Mr. Headlights stopped on the side of the road, Corporal Ellison approached the driver's side of the vehicle. Corporal Ellison asserts that flashing headlights is a violation of the law and proceeds to issue Mr. Headlights a citation. Mr. Headlights contends that he has a constitutional right, protected by the First Amendment, to use his headlights to communicate with other drivers. While the Supreme Court has not addressed this specific issue, some lower courts have recognized that flashing headlights to warn oncoming drivers about a speed trap is a form of expressive conduct that is constitutionally protected under the First Amendment. Given the limited case law available and the non-binding nature of the discussed precedents on West Virginia courts, a compelling argument exists that Mr. Headlights' actions constituted protected expressive conduct. When he used his headlights to communicate with other drivers by flashing them, it can be asserted that he was engaging in constitutionally protected expression.